There can be no doubt about the massive historical impact of Lenin.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the times throughout history that one person's actions brought down a government.
By early 1949, Mao commanded a formidable fighting force.
Number 10, Julius Caesar, Roman Republic.
Men, we have two choices. We can be slaughtered by the army Pompey is amassing against us. Or we can fight for our lives, just as we've done every day for 8 years.
Caesar's bid for personal power ended the Roman Republic as a functioning constitutional order. Crossing the Rubicon in 49 BCE triggered civil war. Victories over Pompey and the senatorial coalition let him centralize authority.
Caesar's on his way to Rome.
How far is he?
4 days from here.
That's impossible.
I heard it from Bibulus himself. Caesar has passed the Rubicon.
We must leave Rome. We cannot defend it without troops.
He stacked the Senate with loyalists, pushed aside the assemblies, controlled magistracies, and accumulated extraordinary powers before being named Dictator Perpetuo in 44 BCE.
It has been decreed by the new Senate that the title of dictator is bestowed upon Gaius Julius Caesar. This decreed, there will be 50 days of thanksgiving in his honor, is given the courts and elected consul for life.
Reforms like the Julian calendar served statecraft while tightening his grip. His assassination did not restore res publica. Instead, it opened the door to another round of civil wars and ultimately the era of the Principate. The result was irreversible. The Republic's checks and rotating offices gave way to a permanent, personal regime that set the template for Roman imperial rule.
You treat me as a king. But I assure you that is one role I shall never adopt. For I am Caesar and only Caesar. It is for this crown alone that I conquered Gaul.
Number 9, Muammar Gaddafi, Libya.
He was born in a Bedouin tent, came to power in a coup, and for more than 40 years, Muammar Gaddafi has stood as one of the most bizarre characters on the world stage. But while his team of virgin female bodyguards and shifting political allegiances gave an eccentric mystique, Gaddafi ruled Libya like any other tyrant.
A 27-year-old captain toppled King Idris in 1969, scrapped the 1951 Constitution, and dissolved Parliament. The Revolutionary Command Council ruled by fiat.
He went on to invent a new political philosophy, Jamahiriya, a strange mix of socialism, nationalism, Islam, and his own ideas. In reality, he was just another brutal dictator.
In 1977, Gaddafi proclaimed the Great Socialist People's Libyan Arab Jamahiriya, replacing ministries and a legislature with basic people's congresses and people's committees that pretended to be direct democracy, while revolutionary committees enforced loyalty and silenced dissent. The Libyan People's Court was for the people in name only, and the Green Book functioned as a pseudo-constitution.
He remains utterly unconvinced that there is an uprising against him.
No demonstration at all in the streets. No one against us. Against me for what? Because I am not president.
But then...
They love me, all my people with me. They love me all.
But if they do love you...
They will die to protect me, my people.
The result was a hollowed-out state, a system designed to be ungovernable without him. When his regime fell in 2011, Libya didn't transition, it fractured, proving how thoroughly he had tanked the government he replaced.
شعوري سعيدة جدا ارتحنا الحمد لله منا ارتحنا الحمد لله إن شاء الله ربي يكملها علينا بخير. احنا توار 17 فبراير اليوم عندنا فرحة كانت علينا غمة.
Number 8. Pol Pot, Cambodia. The Khmer Rouge took Phnom Penh and then erased the Cambodian state on principle. Cities were emptied, markets and money abolished, ministries dissolved, religion and schooling banned. Civil servants, professionals, and perceived old society elements were purged or worked to death. Security centers like S-21 institutionalized torture and execution.
One day in the afternoons, the Khmer cadre took my husband. They beat him and they killed him. They said that he served the enemy. I cried and asking him not to beat him, please. But he said no, because he's the enemy, so he killed him in front of my 2 children.
Under the banner of Year Zero, the regime reorganized the country into agrarian communes that answered only upward to Pol Pot himself. The toll was catastrophic. As many as 2 million dead and no functioning institutions left to inherit. Vietnam's 1978 intervention toppled democratic Kampuchea, but the damage was done. Pol Pot didn't capture a government so much as liquidate one.
According to the prince, Pol Pot will eventually be taken out of the jungle and brought here to the capital. He will then become the one under lock and key inside prison, as he awaits trial by an international court charged with genocide. Terry Lloyd, ITN, Phnom Penh.
Number 7. Augusto Pinochet, Chile.
Chile's national stadium stands an empty reminder to the coup 10 years ago, which overthrew Chile's last democratically elected president, Salvador Allende. Thousands of intellectuals, students, politicians were incarcerated and tortured here. No one knows how many of them died. Diplomats at the time estimated 4,000.
On September 11, 1973, Pinochet led the armed forces in toppling President Salvador Allende. La Moneda was bombed, Congress dissolved, and the 1925 Constitution suspended. Pinochet's junta created the Dirección de Inteligencia Nacional, or National Intelligence Directorate, to detain, torture, disappear, and exile opponents while censoring media and criminalizing dissent.
Deprived of even the most basic expression of democratic rights for the last 15 years, they gathered in Santiago today in their tens of thousands. It was the culmination of the presidential referendum campaign. Moderate Christian Democrats, socialists and communists marching together. The flags of 17 different political parties making up the command for the no.
Pinochet centralized power in his own hands and subsequently rewired the state. The 1980 Constitution entrenched military tutelage, extended his rule, and shielded the regime with an amnesty decree. A group of Chilean economists, branded the Chicago Boys for having studied at the University of Chicago, deepened the regime's reliance on repression. A 1988 plebiscite cut Pinochet's rule short, forcing a transition in 1990.
Chileans going to the polls for the first time in 20 years, and for so many of the 7 million voters, the first time they have been asked to decide, in the old-fashioned democratic way, the kind of government they want and the man they want to lead it. He is 71-year-old Patricia Elwin, a Christian Democrat representing a 17-party coalition of the center and left.
Number 6. Benito Mussolini, Italy.
Noi non chiediamo il giudizio del mondo, ma desideriamo che il mondo sia informato.
The October 1922 March on Rome coerced King Victor Emmanuel III into appointing Mussolini prime minister, giving a minority party executive power. He then dismantled Italy's liberal state by law, not debate. The Acerbo Law of 1923 rigged elections to hand him 2/3 of seats. After the socialist deputy Giacomo Matteotti was murdered in 1924, Mussolini used the crisis to consolidate rule.
1 year later, a new electoral law was forced upon the Italian people that guaranteed the Fascist Party an automatic 2/3 majority in Parliament from that moment on. Il Duce had cut off from the people any future hope of democratic government.
He outlawed opposition parties, crushed a free press, neutered unions, and replaced elected local councils with regime appointees. By 1926, Italy was a one-party dictatorship. The Lateran Pacts and corporatist reforms followed, but the essential fact was already set. Parliamentary Italy had been legally erased and replaced by the first durable fascist state.
Esiste per voi l'impossibile? Quali sono le 3 parole che formano il nostro dogma?
Number 5. Oliver Cromwell, The Protectorate.
Why don't we all go down to the pub or something?
Guards!
What now?
Pubs are banned. They are sinful.
Fine, fine. Why don't we all go to the theatre?
Guards!
Let me guess. Banned.
Yes, it's sinful.
All right, all right. Well, why don't we all go and have a festive kickabout in the park?
Guards!
Oh, what? You can't ban sport. It's
sinful.
After the army's purge of Parliament, Cromwell drove the trial and execution of Charles I, abolished the monarchy and House of Lords, and proclaimed a kingless commonwealth. When the rump showed reluctance, he literally shut it down, replacing it with the short-lived bare-bones Parliament.
Cromwell believed that the rump Parliament were rushing through a government bill that would allow for open, free, uncontrolled elections that would return a perhaps pro-royalist or at least anti-army parliament, and he didn't want that. He wanted a parliament, but it had to be a controlled parliament.
He then imposed the instruments of government, England's first written constitution, creating the Protectorate with himself as Lord Protector. Backed by the new model army, he ruled by ordinances, censored the press, and deployed the major generals as regional military governors.
Although some of his supporters were willing to, support him to be monarch, there was just not enough support across the whole political spectrum. In particular, a number of the generals were genuinely unhappy with the idea of a revival of monarchy.
Conquests in Ireland and Scotland crushed resistance. Parties and traditional Czechs were gone. Restoration came after his death, but for a decade, it felt like the old order had been wiped from the history books.
Why don't we all go to church? I mean, church isn't sinful, is it?
No, of course not.
Well, then let's all go to church.
Guard! Seize them! It's against the law to go to church on Christmas Day. Take these sinners to prison.
What?
Wait.
Yes?
Happy Christmas.
Number 4. Mao Zedong, China.
The Red Leader's blueprint for conquest, protracted guerrilla war, united front, elimination of all opposition, has accomplished its aims.
The Chinese Communist Party's decisive win in the civil war against the nationalists ended the Republic of China's rule on the mainland and replaced it with a one-party Leninist state, centered on the CCP and its chairman. The Great Leap Forward wrecked administrative capacity and triggered mass famine, after which Mao reasserted personal supremacy with the decade-long Cultural Revolution in 1966.
Hong Kong, Britain's island colony, clinging to the flank of Red China. Here, the flow of refugees from the mainland is an indicator of the Chinese people's mood. The influx of nearly 1 million in 10 years at an undiminished rate points to continuing discontent on the mainland.
Party and state organs were put on ice, courts and ministries sidelined, schools and universities shut, and governance routed through Red Guards, revolutionary committees, and ultimately, the People's Liberation Army. Mao didn't just overthrow a government in 1949, he dismantled one from within.
There will be a torrential tide of opposition to the United States and her allies. And the philosophy of Mao Zedong concludes, the nations of the free world can be divided up and defeated. This today is Communist China's new and global manifesto, militant and menacing.
Number 3. Ruhollah Khomeini, Iran.
Ayatollah Khomeini emerged from his small suburban house looking as impassive as ever, even on the day he's been waiting for during 15 years of exile. His followers were more expressive. There's always a handful of the faithful around him here.
On the 1st of February 1979, Khomeini toppled the Pahlavi monarchy and scrapped Iran's 1906 constitutional order. A referendum in March abolished the throne. By December, a new constitution entrenched a supreme leader above elected offices, a guardian council to vet laws and candidates, and an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to protect the regime.
The Ayatollah, frail at the age of 78, has symbolized the most militant opposition to the Shah. He's now nominated what he calls the Revolutionary Islamic Council inside Iran. And ultimately, he wants to turn the country back to a much stricter Muslim life.
Parallel bodies overrode the provisional government and purged the old elite. The U.S. Embassy seizure in November 1979 crushed moderates and unified power around Khomeini.
Some 60 Americans, including our fellow citizen whom you just saw bound and blindfolded, are now beginning their 6th day of captivity inside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. It's Friday morning there now, but throughout this night in Washington, officials will continue their search for some way to negotiate the hostages' freedom. That search was not successful today.
Parties were banned or broken, minorities and regional autonomists were suppressed, and universities were shuttered during the 1980-83 Cultural Revolution. The Shah's centralized monarchy was replaced by a relatively stable clerical state, whose unelected institutions, overseen closely by the supreme leader, still define Iran's politics.
As the Ayatollah made clear this morning, the Shah leaving is only the start.
The departure of the Shah is not the final victory, but it is the preface to our victory.
Number 2. Vladimir Lenin, Russia.
Lenin used the term the dictatorship of the proletariat, which he derived from Karl Marx. And Marx didn't necessarily mean that it would be a dictatorship as we know it, but Lenin did. Lenin meant literally that a dictatorship would be, should be, a dictatorship.
The October Revolution of 1917 toppled the short-lived Russian provisional government, and authority shifted to the Bolshevik Party and Lenin's secret police, the Cheka. When voters returned an unfriendly legislature, he dissolved the Constituent Assembly the following January, then ruled freely by decree.
Villages started to rule themselves. Towns and cities started to rule themselves. The place was awash with revolutions. And what happened in October 1917 was that finally a party came to power that was going to pull all of these revolutions together. And that was the genius of Lenin.
The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk pulled Russia out of World War I at immense cost, consolidating Bolshevik control. War communism and the Red Terror crushed opposition and centralized the economy under party and police.
We have to retreat now, and he called it a retreat. Instead of trying to build socialism right away, which we can't do, we're going to build state capitalism. We're going to open up markets. We're going to have a private industry. If we don't make some kind of compromise alliance with the peasantry, they will overthrow us. They are the majority.
By 1921, the ban on factions guaranteed internal unity, and Lenin's new economic policy was more market-oriented, but without loosening political monopoly. Lenin died in 1924, but the resulting power vacuum led directly to the rise of Joseph Stalin.
Lenin founded the one-party state. Lenin passed on the doctrine that terror should be used, and dictatorship also, to consolidate the revolutionary state. Now, that's not Stalinism, that's Leninism. And that was a legacy that Lenin bequeathed to Stalin.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1. Adolf Hitler, Germany.
This is the will of God. Now it is obvious why I think it is my duty to the nation to save the German people from the danger of communism.
He didn't inherit a democracy, he throttled it. Appointed chancellor in January 1933, Hitler exploited the Reichstag fire to gut civil liberties and enact mass arrests. And then, the Enabling Act transferred lawmaking to his cabinet under SA and SS intimidation. Parliament became decor. Gleichschaltung, the process of, quote, Nazification, did the rest. Parties were silenced. Unions smashed and replaced by the German Labor Front, and Dachau opened for political prisoners.
Completely ignoring the fact that most people who left Germany had done so to get away from things like Hitler, he sprang his pet theory that every person of German blood, no matter where he lived, belonged to the Nazi Reich.
The Night of the Long Knives in the summer of 1934 announced murder as state policy and eliminated internal rivals. Hitler fused the offices of president and chancellor into Führer and bound army oaths to himself. The Weimar Constitution was obliterated, and in its place stood a police state engineered for industrialized atrocity.
According to the Nazis, the German was a special creature who remained forever German, to the 6th and 7th generation, and must take his orders from Berlin.
Which historical moment on our list shocked you the most? Are there any we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.
They took over by virtue of their organizing ability, their agitational ability, and the power of their political platform, which was very appealing. Land, bread, and peace. It was very simple, but it represented the aspirations of the mass of the common people in Russia in 1917.